Okay, so for this next part, we're going to be creating an exploded view for an assembled part. So what does that mean? So right now I have my toy that I created last time, right? So basically, uh, last time I created this toy, excuse me, um, which is the toy peg at the bottom left, toy legs, right? So the toy peg is a cylinder, toy legs is just a rectangular prism, and then toy top is basically just a rectangle or a rectangular prism with a hole or a box with a hole. We put everything together. In one of your previous assignments, you limited the degrees of freedom to put everything together, and then you turned it in terms of an STL file. Let's say, for example, you wanted to 3D print this in CAD. You could do that because now you have one single STL file made of multiple parts um, to be able to print, and you could also modify things in the future if you so choose to, instead of having to build everything all over again. Okay, now let's say we want to tell somebody else from a different country or a different state or a different place how to build this, right? Because you know how to build it, you know how it goes, you're the one that designed it. But let's say, for example, you want to explain this to somebody that's going to do it themselves. Let's say they open up a user manual and they're like, okay, so I bought this new piece of furniture. And you get it from like Ashley Furniture or whatever, or someplace, and they give you like the specifications about what goes where. You could actually do that with an Onshape to kind of specify what goes where, and this is called an exploded view. Okay, so on the right-hand side, you'll see different menus, right? So you'll see the top one, which says BOM table, BOM. The second one is configuration panel, and then the bottom right-hand corner, we see exploded views. I'm going to click on exploded views. And then it's going to give me the option, add exploded views to visualize the assembly of components. So I'm going to go ahead and click add exploded view. And call this explode 1, sure. So let me zoom this out a little bit. Okay, so what we can do with this exploded view is we could actually move things around to explain to the user how this thing is actually put together. So let me explain. So for example, we know that this peg goes inside of the hole, right? We know that this is not connected to the top of the table. It's one single piece, one single cylinder, right? We need to tell that to the user because sometimes drawings can be confusing. We also know that the legs are individual legs for the right side and the left side. They're not connected to the tabletop, so it's not like an L connected to like an I-beam on the left side or vice versa, not like an L on the left side with a stick on the right side. So it's basically three separate parts that make up that tabletop. So we need to say that, and the way that we can say that is through an exploded view. So what we do here is we could actually click on a part. Let's say, for example, the cylinder. Then it allows me to move that part around or rotate that part around however I would like. So for example, they have different axes right now. So I actually pulled up, once I clicked the cylinder, I pulled up the X, the Y, and the Z axis, sometimes known as the Z axis if you're in Europe. So at X, Y, Z. If you click on any of them and you slide it in a direction, oops, sorry, you have to click on the arrow, by the way. So if you click on one of the arrows, so let's say I want to click on this arrow right here, you can slide this in the Z direction now, either downwards or upwards. So right now I slid it to the bottom, right? Let's make this an even 3 inches. So on the left-hand side, I can modify this and click the little check mark saying that I'm happy with it. Now, let's say I want to move the tabletop. So I click on the tabletop. It's giving me the options again for X, Y, Z. Which way do I want to move it? I can go ahead and click on the Z axis and move it upwards. What I could also do, by the way, is I could also rotate it if I wanted to. I'll show you guys in a minute. For example, like let's say, for example, I want to move it upwards, but I also want to rotate it. Here on the left side, you see that the exploded view type, I could do a translation, but also a rotation. If I click on rotation, it'll allow me to turn it if I wanted to. Let's say, for example, this way, or let's say, for example, I want to move it from the front to the back. I can probably do that, etc. You can swivel it around. Let's say I don't want to do that. I can hit escape at any time, and it'll bring me back to the original part that we were at. All right, so now let's redo that. So I'm going to click on the tabletop. I want to go ahead and, oh, by the way, if you want to skip the whole drop down menu and you want to just click on the little arrow here, you could also make rotations by clicking on the little circle that is in front of the arrow tip. So if I click on this circle in front of the arrow tip and I just kind of like turn it this way, it'll allow me to rotate it. I could also, so let me escape because I don't want that. I was just explaining something. I could also do, like, for example, the top. If I click on the tabletop and I click the little top arrow, I can turn it now forwards or backwards, depending on what I want to rotate and how I want it to look for my drawing. Okay, so let's go ahead and just kind of move everything away from itself, and then that'll be all I want to do with this. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this part, this arrow, sorry, slide it upwards. Let's make this 2 inches. Select OK. I'm going to select the left leg, same idea. I want to slide it to the left, so I'm going to click that arrow, slide it this direction. Let's make that another 2 inches. Select OK. Oh, by the way, if you select positive and negative 2 inches, that makes a difference. Right now, if I select positive 2 inches, it'll go in the positive direction, which is to the right. I don't want that, so I can double click step 3. And if I put a negative sign in front of that 2 now, it'll make it move to the negative direction, which is the other way. All right, just in case that comes up again for you, you can actually modify that. Last thing that I want to do is move this to the other side. Let me zoom this out a little bit. So click the last leg. Oops. And I'm going to slide it to the right, another 2 inches. This time it'll be positive and select OK. All right, so I am done with my exploded view. Okay, I called it Explode 1. I could also rename this to Exploded Toy. And I'm done. So now I have my exploded view for my toy. Well, look what I can do now. So now, remember we talked about sketching? So if I go ahead and select create a new sketch or a new drawing. So click on the little plus sign, go ahead and create a drawing. You can select your sheet size, of course. The further you go along the alphabet, the bigger it's going to be for the piece of paper. I'm going to select just sheet A, which is a regular standard sheet of paper, 8.5 by 11. And now I have a brand new sheet in which I can create drawing, whatever drawings I want to whatever parts that I want. Okay. So I want to actually select, instead of Part Studio here on the left-hand side, I want to select assemblies. So you see on the left-hand side, I have toy part studios where it says toy parts or whatever. I can select all these different parts. For example, the toy legs, toy peg, toy top. I can put this and dimension it just like what you saw last time in the other video that I did. If I select assemblies, well, I have assembly 1. So I'm going to click assembly 1 this time rather than the actual individual part. Okay, the other thing that I have here on the left-hand side is view orientation. I have the top view, left view, right view, front view, back view, bottom view, isometric. So I'm going to select isometric just so you can see what it would look like. And if I click on this sheet, it'll give me the view in isometric sketch. All right, let's say I want to create this and let's say I want to leave it shaded. So I'm going to right click and say show shaded view. And I'm going to move that and slide it over to the top right-hand corner. Obviously, this thing is turned annoyingly so, like a different way that I wouldn't want. The reason why it's turned is because I have that turned on Onshape. So if I go back to Onshape and I basically create, select one of the views as my friend, I'll show you guys how to do that right now. It'll modify it ideally, but that's not the point for this. I'll show you guys how to do that in just a second. The point for this is that now I want to incorporate my exploded view within this drawing. So I go to the left-hand side again. I want to do another drawing. Oh, wait, I'm already in the drawing file. Okay, so I think I could just insert view. So top left-hand corner, go to insert view. It says insert assembly 1. Great, that's what I want. This third option, you see that it says explode position. It says default. I want to change that to exploded toy. So if I select exploded toy, all of a sudden now I can incorporate that drawing that I just made of the exploded toy within my sketch. And if I change that to isometric, or sorry, to shaded, it'll make a little bit more sense. So there's my shaded view now. So as you can see, clearly now, I have 2 additional drawings that I have provided. I don't need dimensions for this because all the dimensions should be in the individual parts anyways, but this actually tells me how it actually goes, right? And you could actually label this depending on how you want to label it. For example, I know that the top and the legs are individual parts from each other. I know that the peg goes through the hole, as you can see from the right-hand side isometric view. I could also take and dimension these things if I really wanted to. You know, according to the proper dimensions, if you wanted to dimension all these parts individually, you can. If you submit individual parts, then it's not a big deal because you have already dimensioned it before. But you get the idea. What else can you do? I believe that's the gist of it. Oh, that's what I was going to show you. Last thing, let's say if I go back to Onshape and I go to toy parts. Right now, if I go to my toy part and I click on assembly, then I have this, right? So notice that my front view is actually set to be this particular view right here. So let's say I don't want that to be my front. So I can click on the top view. I can turn it over to the right side. I can turn it over a little bit more. All right. I can also make this. So this is my front view, but I don't want it to be in that orientation. I want it to be in this orientation. So I could right click on that. Or actually, you know what? Left click on the cube. And I can set this to be the front. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Symmetric. No, I don't want that. Let me pause this. Okay, so I think I figured it out. So if you guys want to rearrange this to a different view, if you go back to the original toy assembly that we had, right? So here's my toy assembly. I went to the little cube and I selected named views. So I can call this view whatever name I want. So let's say, for example, I want to call this towards me. I don't know, whatever, towards me. And I want to define this view right here. Let me click on the little corner. I don't want that. I don't want that. Let's say I wanted to see more. I want to view it more like isometrically. So let's say I like that view, right? So it's like, oh yeah, I like the way that it looks in that view. So I can call this view name, whatever, corner, and then press enter. And then I could actually incorporate these views within my drawing now. So if I go back to the drawing file, and let's say I wasn't happy with these views, I could always right click on that and delete it, or left click and delete it. And I can incorporate whatever views I'm more comfortable with. So if I go to insert view, oops, sorry. So insert view, it'll give me the assembly option. So assembly 1. And then under the drop-down menu, obviously you have all the different views that you can put: view orientation, top, left, right, front, back, bottom, isometric, etc. I think I called this one front, like the alternate view front. I can select that. As you can see now, it's right side up. So this was something that I defined by myself, by the way. I could also right click it and then show shaded view, and that'll give it the shaded view option for it if you want to see it in the front. I also added one that was called towards me. As you can see now, it populated. It took a minute, but it's there now. If I select towards me and I click on that view, I can put it up on the corner as well. Oh wait, was that the same one? Wasn't there one that I called corner? Oh yeah, there should be one that's called corner. So view orientation, there we go, corner. And then I can put that on the top right hand corner, and now it's basically the isometric view, but it looks more like right side up now. So you could actually use that if you wanted to. You can show the shaded view, and now it'll be in color. You can move this around however you would like. Let's say, for example, you want to put it up here, and then you want to reserve the left-hand side for the exploded view. So you can input one more view. One of the things that you could do is put the exploded toy view, which we already talked about in the last part, and set it down, and that'll tell you kind of like where everything goes. All right, again, you can put this in color by showing the shaded view. Okay, so just wanted to show you that exists because your next assignment will be basically working with drawing files. All right, hopefully this was helpful. Good luck.